Yo, I'm about to share something with you that happened to me in 2016 at my previous address. The beginning of 2016, near enough. It's a police log called log 752. It's where I phoned the emergency services requesting that the local police come to my previous address to investigate a couple of addresses in the same block, two flats in the same block of flats that I lived in, that I was kind of sandwiched between, because I thought someone who didn't even reside in any of the flats in the block was being harmed whilst there had been issues with antisocial behaviour that day, earlier in that day, during the incident itself. And anyway, so the police came out. They travelled all the way from Keynsham, so that's where the local station is, out in Keynsham, which is like near Brislington or Bristol. It's about 14 miles away, something like that, 13, 14 miles away. And two officers, police officers, police constables in a police car. They came to the block. I let him in through the main door. They knocked on my front door, opened it up. One of them I recognised. He'd been there. He'd worked there for like years, over 10 years. I recognised him and that. I told him what was what. Told him to go and investigate both the flats. I think they did it separately though. They did it separately in taking a look at each flat. So they went to do that. More antisocial behaviour ensued. I could see that the car was still parked outside. It's from a flat underneath me. Loud music, lots of people in there shouting, blah blah, and all that, and music getting louder and louder, banging away. And then one of the officers leaves the block casually, on his own, without his colleague. Gets in the car and drives off. Casually, not super fast or anything like that. Not being chased out with like lunatic neighbours trying to kill him or anything, or it just walks out without his colleague, gets in the car, drives off back to the station. It was about 7 in the evening that they arrived and that. Of course, I want to flag it up, so I complained in a way. I was like, well, what's going on? He's on duty, blah blah blah. How come his colleague just drives off without him? And I did that to IPCC, who's formerly IPCC, they're now called IOPC, and took them a couple of days just to investigate the digital tetras that the police wear, the little radios, take photos and videos and all that, and they've got GPS and little heart monitors and stuff like that, and blah blah. They do all sorts of stuff, loads of specifications to the digital tetra, and took them a couple of days. And they granted my complaint credence, if you like, complaint. I was concerned for the officer as well, like, what on earth? And took him a couple of days to grant it credence and referenced it. And then, just from then on, trying to get answers, blah, 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 what's going on, what's with that. A week or so later, after the incident, the two flats that I sandwiched between, they both started doing DIY, gutting out their flats, taking everything out, carpets, whatnot, old laminate stuff, furniture, blah blah blah, and that people, transit vans, lorries full of new laminate flooring, everything, committing to DIY, drilling and hammering away day and night, everything. My housing compliance officer at the time, who worked for the social housing developer that's in partnership with the district council, that I was renting a flat from at the time. She left the job. After that, I'd almost had her from the very start of that tenancy in that previous address, so for quite a few years. But she left the job, so someone new took over. the person that took over, and that she was a nice young woman, really nice young woman. I met her in person. She was great. She's really enthusiastic, professional, and everything. Wanted to help me and everything with all the antisocial behaviour complaints, getting the noise monitoring equipment installed and everything and stuff like that, and helping me with like the log 752 and stuff like that. She was great, but as time went on, like a few months later, I was being harassed by the police again, stuff like that, trying to make me sign to and agree to some notice. A notice is basically like a gagging order that I couldn't talk about my antisocial neighbours to anyone in the immediate locality, stuff like that. And there was also complaints about me. I figured, like, how come am I supposed to have a letter, an official letter about this notice before I get the notice? Or how about an abatement order before I even get a letter about this so-called notice, which on the back of it says I can appeal to the magistrate's court. So as it is, I was sick and tired of this harassment and having to complain about it, and I just appealed to the magistrate's court. Magistrate's court threw it out. Not my appeal. The notice just non-void. Just get it out of there. Like, leave Frank alone. I was like, cool. And then towards the end of the year, I ended up having to go to county court because they want to repossess the flat. Now I'm having to meet with this woman that took over from the previous housing compliance officer, who I'd already met in person months before, and you know, I thought she was great and that. But anyhow, I figure, like, now she wants to put me in county court. I'm having to meet with her again. The thing is, it's not her. It's not even her. It's someone pretending. It's someone. Well, pretending to be her that doesn't even look like her as well. How about that, huh? And using her name. What do I do? I mean, the first time I just couldn't really. I took it in, but I couldn't deal with it. I thought this needs to happen again. This happens the second time round, and it's this person who's not her, not the real woman that took over. Like, I'm gonna have to start reaching out to professional people to have to, you know, deal with this. I've still got issues with this whole log 752 thing, which dragged on for months. Professional standards department in Portishead, they won't even take it seriously. It's just... Anyhow, second time round, enough was enough. Sick and tired of it. They wanted to kick me out, blah blah. My mum's in hospital as well, not long into 2017. Dying. I'm on the verge of getting kicked out. They're moving out the woman underneath me and her ex-boyfriend who lives adjacent to me on my level, and who's got previous criminal record as long as your arm, where it comes to being a con man and burglaries and things like that and everything. It is just like nasty piece of work, really, the old guy, if you ask me. And he'd been to prison for 7 years, things like that. You know, you do like a 7-year stretch, people think you're gangster. Like, I don't think he's gangster. I think he's a nasty piece of work. I don't trust him as far as I can throw him. He definitely doesn't need to brag to me about going to prison for 7 years. Like, under the circumstances. And basically I kind of crumbled under all the kind of drawn out pressure of it all, and I got really depressed. I lost the flat because I just like didn't sort it out. I didn't even turn up on the day of the hearing in county court. You don't have to explain to me, once it is taken more seriously and investigated properly, that how on earth do they even get away with putting me in county court under the circumstances where she's concerned. Well, now the Home Office is dealing with it, and Parliament and the Home Office and the National Crime Agency, which is the headquarters is in London, and there's a public inquiry for log 752, as well as the whereabouts of the real Ellie Gooch. And I don't know, it's getting like it's only been public inquiries not even been up and running for 2 years yet. So really, after 2 years, looking at it being published, if not in full, like then partially published with some of my questions answered, which is questions like, in regards to log 752 and the digital tetras of the incident, I want the specifics. I want the information in regards to the digital tetras and exactly why it took IPCC, formerly IPCC, IOPC now, why it took them just 2 days to be bang on, granting me credence, granting my complaint credence, and what exactly has happened to that officer. I know professional standards have been put under pressure to have to deal with it, and it's being reviewed and still being reviewed, even now. Still being reviewed. An indefinite suspension? I don't think it is an indefinite suspension. I think he got murdered. That's what I think. And that police station, or that constabulary, if you like, Avon and Somerset Constabulary, is institutionally corrupt. Do you know just how many police officers have been sacked, and especially for being rapists, in the last 5 years? In the last 5-6 years, just how many police officers were actually sacked for being rapists from that constabulary? Even one of the doctors, who was from a surgery in Widcombe, here in this district of Bath. I mean, there's several hundred sex offenders right here in Bath, convicted sex offenders. They likes rapists and paedophiles. Several hundred of them already convicted. Some of them repeat offenders and prolific with it. So I want that digital tetra information. I want to know why it took professional standards like over a year to take it seriously, yeah, and then start to deal with it, yeah. I also want to know what they're doing in their investigation of the real Ellie Gooch, which is the housing compliance officer, the new one that is, and her whereabouts. And what exactly they're doing about the imposter that replaced her and her role at the social housing developer, that's in partnership with the council here. And why she was allowed to seek repossession of my flat. Why PC Mark Hodder, this is the beat officer for this side of the river, pardon me, that I'm still living in, actually, but in a different address now. But at the previous address, it's this side of the river is like BA2. Why PC Mark Hodder was within his right to harass me the way he did, to corrupt and subvert all the information that I had given forward to him whilst living at that previous address. Why he dealt with the antisocial behaviour the way he did, so unprofessionally, basically, and why he thought he was in his right representing the local authority earlier last year, actually, just earlier last year, why he thought he was in his right representing the local authority and arresting me on the grounds of malicious communications that I'm not even guilty of. And I didn't get charged for malicious communications, but he tried, nonetheless. Anyway, there's a public inquiry, the Home Office is dealing with it, Parliament's involved, National Crime Agency, PSD still doing the same review where log 752 is concerned. It's not been 2 years where the public inquiry is concerned, like under the circumstances. At the end of the 2 years, I'll be looking at, if not a fully published public inquiry, a partially published public inquiry with my answers, hopefully, or if not all of them. Some of it might be data protected, I don't know, but we'll have to wait and see. Anyhow, I thought I'd share that with you. So there you go. That's life at the moment, and that will continue as life goes on. For me, lucky me. I'll keep you posted.